My father didn't hesitate. He grabbed the old, yellowed bank book, held it high above the champagne bucket, and said into the microphone, "Worthless trash belongs with worthless trash." Then he dropped it. The sound was soft, a wet slap against ice, but the laughter that followed was loud enough to shatter something inside me. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I didn't say a word. I knelt in my wedding dress, plunged my hand into the freezing water, pulled out that soaked booklet, and walked out. 3 days later, a bank teller looked at that same ruined book and whispered, "Ma'am, please don't leave." Before I tell you what was inside that book and how it destroyed my father's entire carefully built empire, drop a comment below. What's the cruelest thing someone did to you at your own celebration? I'm reading every single story. The reception hall smelled like lilies and expensive catering, white tablecloths, crystal stemware, everything polished to reflect the life my father believed we represented. It was supposed to be my wedding day, but it felt like his stage. I stood near the head table in my dress, ivory, long sleeves, conservative by design. My grandmother had helped me choose it. "You don't need anything flashy," she'd said, her hands trembling as she smoothed the fabric. "You've already survived harder things than this." She sat 2 rows back now, small and fragile, a pale cardigan draped over her shoulders like armor that no longer fit. Her eyes met mine once. She gave the smallest nod. When the speeches began, my father stood first. Of course he did. He always spoke first. He adjusted the microphone, waited for the room to quiet, and smiled the way powerful men do when they believe attention is their birthright. He talked about legacy, about values, about discipline. He mentioned my military service exactly once, and even then, it sounded like a footnote. "She always needed structure," he said, chuckling. The room laughed politely. Then my grandmother stood. There was a soft murmur as people realized she was moving toward me. She wasn't part of the program. She never was. My father frowned slightly but didn't stop her. He liked to appear generous. She reached me slowly, gripping something small wrapped in cloth. "For you," she whispered, pressing it into my palm. "Your grandfather wanted you to have this." I unfolded the fabric. Inside was an old bank book. The cover was cracked, the edges worn soft with age. It smelled faintly of dust and time. It didn't look impressive. It didn't belong in a room like this. I felt my father step closer before I saw him. "What's that?" he asked into the microphone, his tone light but dangerous. I didn't answer fast enough. He reached out and took it from my hands. The room leaned forward. He flipped it open once, twice, his mouth twisted, not in confusion but in disgust. "This," he said, holding it up for everyone to see, "this is what we're doing now." Uncomfortable laughter scattered across the tables. "An old savings book," he continued, shaking his head like a teacher disappointed by a student's effort. "From the 70s, we've moved past this kind of thing." He glanced down at the champagne bucket beside him. Ice floated in pale gold liquid. "Worthless trash," he said clearly, "belongs with worthless trash." And then he let go. The book fell into the ice with a soft splash. There was a collective gasp, followed by nervous laughter, the kind people use to protect themselves. I stared at the bucket. The bank book floated for a second before sinking, pages blooming open like a wound. I didn't think. I knelt. Cold bit into my fingers as I plunged my hand into the ice water, soaking through the lace at my wrists, up my sleeves, into the lining of my dress. Someone murmured my name. Someone else laughed, sharper this time. I pulled the book out, dripping and ruined, pressed it to my chest, and stood. My father leaned toward the mic. "Don't be dramatic," he said softly. "Sit down." I didn't look at him. I didn't look at anyone. I turned and walked out. Outside, the evening air smelled like rain and distant ocean. I stood under the awning, my dress heavy with water, my hands numb. Behind me, the sounds of the reception leaked through the doors, music restarting, voices rising. the world correcting itself now that I was gone. My grandmother came out minutes later. She didn't touch me. She just stood beside me. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. I shook my head. "Don't be." She looked at the wet book in my hands. "He never even opened it," she said. "Neither did I." 3 days later, I walked into First Commonwealth Bank downtown. The lobby was marble and silence. Polished shoes whispered across the floor. I wore jeans, boots, a plain jacket I'd bought secondhand years ago. I carried the bank book in a sealed plastic bag like evidence. The teller was young, early 20s. She took the bag carefully, her expression neutral. "I'd like to check the balance," I said. "It was a gift." She nodded, already typing, her eyes flicking to the warped pages inside the bag. I could see what she expected, an error, a closed account, something easy to dismiss. Then she stopped. Her fingers froze above the keyboard. She blinked, leaned closer to the screen. The color drained from her face. "Ma'am," she whispered, standing abruptly. "Please don't leave, just one moment." She disappeared through a side door. People began to look at me.